The planet Viralian 9 was burning under the twin suns. The air smelled of smoke and metal, and the wind carried the echo of distant gunfire. Once it had been green and full of life, but now its valleys were filled with broken ships and the remains of two armies that had fought too long to remember why. Among the ruins walked Ethan Cross, a human warrior who had survived when most of his unit had not. His armor was scratched, his rifle empty, and his heart tired. The war had taken everything from him, his home, his friends, even the reason to keep fighting. All that was left was duty. He moved carefully through the wreckage, scanning for movement. A strange light flickered in the distance, faint but steady, like a dying star that refused to fade. Ethan followed it, expecting to find a broken beacon or an enemy trap. What he found instead made him stop breathing. Lying beside a shattered transport was a woman, though not a human one. Her skin glowed faintly silver under the dust. Her armor was marked with royal symbols of the Thyral Dominion, the same empire that humanity had been at war with for decades. Her eyes were closed, her body weak, but even in that broken state, there was something regal about her. Ethan recognized her from briefing files, the Princess Alara, heir to the Thurl throne. Every soldier had seen her face in the propaganda screens. She was said to be both brilliant and cruel, leading fleets that crushed human colonies without mercy. Now, she lay here alone, bleeding blue light into the dirt. He lifted his rifle, instincts screaming at him to finish the job. But then she made a sound soft, small, almost human. Her voice trembled as she whispered words in a language half understood. Ethan lowered the weapon slowly. He could see fear in her expression, not arrogance. She was afraid of dying, afraid of being forgotten in this cold field far from her stars. Her breathing grew weaker. Ethan's visor scanner blinked red. Critical condition. No Thyral ship was in orbit. No help was coming. He hesitated, torn between what command would order and what his heart whispered. Then she spoke again, barely a breath. Please. Not alone. Those two words broke something inside him. For a moment the war, the sides, the flags, none of it mattered. She was a living being fading in front of him. Ethan dropped his pack, pulled out a field medical kit, and scanned her body for a way to stop the bleeding. But her wounds were deep and strange. Her blood shimmered with light, reacting to air like liquid fire. The medic screen displayed a desperate option: bioplasma transfusion possible. Warning: cross-species transfer lethal. Ethan stared at the words. It was madness. Human and Thyral blood were chemically opposite. Contact could kill both donor and receiver. But the scanner added one more line: chance of stabilization 3%. 3%. That was enough for Ethan. He removed his armor glove, feeling the dry wind bite his skin. He connected a plasma line from his wrist port to the Thyral connector on her arm. The system protested, flashing alarms, but he forced the override. Pain shot through him like ice and fire at once. His vision blurred, and he could feel his own heartbeat racing as the fluids mixed. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then the glow around her body shifted. Her breathing steadied slightly. The bleeding slowed. The line pulsed with faint blue and red light, intertwining like two streams meeting in one river. Ethan clenched his teeth and kept the connection steady. The pain became unbearable, but he refused to stop. "Come on," he whispered, voice hoarse. "Stay with me." Then her eyes opened, silver and bright, reflecting the sun's. She gasped, trying to move, but he gently pressed her shoulder down. "Don't," he said. "You're safe. You lost a lot of blood." She stared at him for a long time, confused, then looked at the line connecting them. "Your blood," she whispered weakly. "It should kill me. Guess I'm bad at following rules," Ethan said, trying to smile even as the world tilted around him. Alara's fingers trembled as she touched the connector. Her skin shimmered brighter where the human plasma entered her veins. "It feels warm," she murmured. Like sunlight, Ethan's strength was fading fast. He pressed a sealant patch to the transfusion point and cut the line. The wound on his arm burned, but he ignored it. The scanner now showed her vitals stabilizing. It didn't make sense. Human plasma was never supposed to heal thyral tissue. Yet she was breathing, her heart strong again. She tried to sit up, and he supported her carefully. The movement caused his head to spin. "Easy," he muttered. "You're not out of danger yet." "I don't understand," she said softly, looking around at the destruction. "Why help me? We are enemies." Ethan looked at the horizon, where smoke still rose from the dead machines of both armies. "Because someone has to stop hating first," he said quietly. "I'm tired of this war." For a moment, silence stretched between them. The wind carried the faint crackle of distant fires. Then Alara whispered, "Your blood. It carries a resonance. I can feel it inside me." Her voice shook, almost fearful. Something ancient. Before Ethan could ask, the ground trembled. Distant engines roared overhead thyral ships. He cursed under his breath. "They're coming for you." She nodded weakly. "My guard. But they will not understand what you did." "Then we should go," he said, helping her stand. She stumbled, but his arm caught her before she fell. Despite the difference in height and armor, she leaned on him lightly, trusting his balance. The gesture felt strange, almost fragile. They moved through the wreckage toward an old supply bunker. Inside, Ethan sealed the door and dimmed the lights. He gave her water from his pack, though she hesitated before drinking. "You trust me enough to take my blood," he said with a tired grin. "But not my water?" Her lips curved faintly. "Your species never fails to surprise." Minutes passed in uneasy quiet. Ethan checked his scanner again. Her vitals were stabilizing, but his were dropping fast. The transfer had taken more out of him than he realized. Sweat coated his face. His vision darkened. Alara noticed and reached for his arm. "You gave too much," she said. "You will die," shook his head. "I'll live." "Humans are stubborn," she frowned, eyes bright with guilt. "You risked your life for me. I have no way to repay it." Ethan leaned against the wall, trying to stay conscious. "Just don't start another war." Her gaze lingered on him. "You speak as if peace is possible." "Maybe not today," he murmured, closing his eyes briefly. "But one day." Outside, thunder rolled across the plains. The thyral search ships were close now. Through the bunker's cracked window, Alara saw the glow of their scanners sweeping across the battlefield. "They will find us soon," she said softly. Ethan forced himself to stand. "Then when they do, I'll make sure they don't shoot first." He opened the door slowly, stepping into the light. His armor was still marked with human insignia, visible even through the dust. The approaching soldier stall, silver-skinned warriors raised their weapons at once. Shouts echoed through the translator in his helmet. "Human, step away from the princess." Ethan didn't move. "She's alive because of me." He shouted, "If you want her to live, don't shoot." The guards hesitated, confusion flickering across their faces. Then Alara's weak voice carried from behind him. "Lower your weapons," she commanded. Even wounded, her tone carried authority. The soldiers obeyed, though uneasily. Their captain stepped forward. Glaring at Ethan, he touched royal blood. The alien hissed, "That is forbidden." Ethan braced for a fight, but Alara spoke again, firmer this time. "He gave me life when the stars turned away. If any of you harm him, you will answer to me." The guards froze, shocked. None had ever heard such words from their princess. She looked at Ethan then, and in her silver eyes he saw something no gratitude, and perhaps the faintest warmth. As the soldiers escorted them toward a waiting ship, Ethan stumbled. Alara caught his arm, steadying him. "You're weak," she whispered. "Guess we're even," he said with a faint grin. Inside the transport, she ordered that he receive medical care, ignoring the protests of her crew. They obeyed, afraid to question their heir. As he sat beside her on the flight deck, a strange glow between their skin flickered again. It's faint but visible. She studied it silently, tracing the light with her eyes. "Our blood should have destroyed each other," she murmured. Instead, it created something new. Ethan looked at her, too tired to speak. The hum of the engines filled the air. For a moment, neither was soldier nor enemy. Just two survivors bound by something neither could explain. when the ship reached orbit. Ethan saw the vast Thyral fleet waiting like silver ghosts in space. He expected to be taken as a prisoner, but Alara ordered otherwise. "He is under my protection," she told the command officers through the intercom. "Until further notice, he answers to me." The officers exchanged uncertain glances, but bowed their heads. No one dared challenge royal authority. Ethan leaned back, stunned. "You don't have to do that," he said quietly. "I do," she replied. "If I let them take you, they will kill you before dawn, and I owe you my life." He met her gaze. "I didn't do it for reward," she smiled faintly. "That is what makes it worth more than any reward." For the first time since the war began, Ethan felt something like hope stir in his chest. Maybe the universe wasn't completely lost. Maybe mercy still had a place among the stars. As the ship glided through the dark, Alara turned to the window. "Your blood changed me," she said softly, almost to herself. "I can feel it singing in my veins. My people will fear what they do not understand." "Tss, then let them be afraid," Ethan said. F. The Thyral flagship drifted above the clouds of Verelianine like a shining silver crescent. Deep inside its corridors, Ethan Cross lay on a medical bed, surrounded by unfamiliar machines that hummed softly. Tubes ran across his arm, glowing faintly blue where human blood mixed with Thyral plasma. His body felt light and heavy at the same time, as if gravity itself could not decide what to do with him. When he opened his eyes, Princess Alara was sitting nearby. She looked stronger now, her armor repaired, her hair silver again instead of pale gray. The light of the ship reflected in her eyes as she watched the stars. She turned when he moved. "You're awake," she said. Ethan tried to sit up, but she stopped him gently. "Don't push yourself. Your body is still adapting." "Adapting to what?" She hesitated before answering. "To me." Her words made no sense. He frowned. "What do you mean? Transfusion changed us both?" she said softly. "My body accepted your blood. That should have been impossible. But it did more than heal me. It merged with your genetic pattern. I can feel your heartbeat even when you are asleep." Ethan looked down at his arm. The veins under his skin shimmered faintly blue. "You mean we're connected?" "Yes," she said. "Linked on a level deeper than science understands. My physicians are terrified of it. They say, 'Your blood awoke something ancient inside me.'" Ethan tried to smile. "Guess humans are full of surprises." Her lips curved faintly. "Indeed." For a while they said nothing. Outside the window, the planet turned slowly, its surface still scarred by war. Ethan felt guilt rising again. "How many died down there?" he said quietly. "Because of orders from both sides," Alara nodded. "Too many." She looked at her hands, glowing faintly with the same blue-red pulse. "Our war began over fear. My people believed humans were a threat to our purity. Now your blood runs in me. What does that make me?" He looked at her calmly. "Alive? That's all that matters." She met his eyes, and for a moment, something unspoken passed between them. Respect. Maybe something deeper. But the moment ended when the door slid open and several officers entered. Their faces were tense. "Your Highness," said the lead officer, bowing slightly, "the High Council demands an explanation." "They know you brought a human aboard." Alara stood tall. "Tell them I will face them myself." The officer hesitated. "With the human present?" "Yes," she said firmly. "He has the right to speak." Ethan tried to protest, but she silenced him with a glance. "You saved my life, Ethan Cross. Whatever they say, I will not let them treat you as an enemy." The council chamber was vast, filled with shining pillars and alien symbols that pulsed with light. 12 elders sat in a circle, their faces stern and cold. The air felt heavy with disapproval. Princess Alara entered first, dressed in royal white armor. Ethan followed, feeling every eye on him. His human uniform looked torn and dull against the elegance of the Thyral chamber. The eldest counselor rose. "You have broken sacred law," he said to Alara. "You allowed human blood to enter royal veins. Such a union has never been permitted." "I know," Alara said calmly, "yet it saved my life." Without it, the thyral line would have ended on the battlefield. Better to die pure than live corrupted, another elder hissed. Ethan's jaw tightened, but he stayed silent. Alara stepped forward. Corrupted? Look at me. I stand here stronger than before. The war between our races has blinded you. Humans are not our curse. They are our mirror. The chamber murmured. The eldest elder frowned. And this human? What do you intend to do with him? He will stay under my protection, Alara said. Until we understand the bond that now exists between us? This is madness, one shouted. You risk our empire for an animal. Ethan's patience broke. Enough, he said, his voice echoing through the chamber. The aliens turned to him, shocked by his boldness. You call me an animal, but I didn't stand by while someone died. Maybe your rules are the real disease. Gasps filled the room. Guards tensed, hands on weapons, but Alara raised her hand. He speaks truth. If compassion is weakness, then we have already lost everything worth protecting. The eldest elder slammed his staff. Very well, but no, this year's actions will have consequences. The ancient order will not forgive. Alara met his gaze steadily. Then let them come. That night, the corridors of the ship were silent, except for the distant hum of engines. Ethan couldn't sleep. The events of the day replayed in his mind. He felt both honored and trapped, pondered by her defense, trapped by the politics around them. He wandered to the observation deck. Stars filled the window like endless diamonds. After a few minutes, Alara joined him. She stood beside him quietly, her silver reflection glowing in the glass. They will not let this go easily, she said softly. I figured, he replied. You put yourself in danger for me. She turned to him. I did it because you gave me hope. When you risked your life, something inside me changed. I began to see the war differently. He looked at her. You think your people will ever stop fighting? She took a deep breath. If they see what I see in you, maybe. Ethan smiled faintly. That might take a while. Humans aren't exactly popular right now. Neither am I, she said with a small laugh. For a brief moment they both smiled, the sound of laughter echoing softly in the metal hall. But the peace didn't last. The ship's alarm suddenly blared, red lights flashing across the corridor. Alara's expression hardened. We're under attack. They ran toward the command deck. The captain's voice came through the intercom. Unknown vessels approaching. Identification thyral insurgents. Rebels, Ethan asked. Alara nodded grimly. The Purity Guard. They want to kill me before word spreads of our bond. Outside, bright streaks of plasma tore through space. The ship shuddered under impact. Ethan grabbed a blaster from the wall. I'm with you, he said. You're injured, she warned. Still breathing, he replied. Together, they reached the defense chamber. Soldiers fired at the incoming ships, but the rebels were many. Explosions rocked the vessel. Smoke filled the air. When a blast tore open part of the hull, Ethan shielded Alara with his body. The impact threw them both against the wall. Pain flared through him, but he ignored it. You okay? He asked. She nodded, though her shoulder bled faintly blue. We need to reach the core. If they destroy it, we're done. They moved through corridors lit by flickering lights. Enemy boarders broke through the airlock's silver warriors with cruel eyes, shouting that the princess had betrayed her race. Ethan fought beside her, firing bursts of energy, his aim precise, even as his strength waned. In the chaos, he saw one rebel raise a blade toward Alara. Without thinking, Ethan threw himself between them. The weapon struck his armor, cutting deep. He fell, gasping, vision blurring. Alara cried out, dropping to her knees beside him. No. She pressed her hand to the wound, her blood glowing brighter. You saved me again. He tried to speak, but his voice faded. Guess it's what I do. Tears filled her eyes. You fool, she whispered. You cannot die. Not like this. And the rebel raised his weapon again. But suddenly light erupted from Alara's hands, blinding pure energy that filled the hall. The attackers screamed as the wave swept through them, knocking them unconscious without killing them. The air buzzed with power. When the light faded, Ethan was breathing again. The wound on his chest had closed, leaving only a faint mark. Alara's hands trembled. It healed you, she said in wonder. Our bond healed you. He blinked in disbelief. That wasn't science. No, she whispered. It was something older. Something my people forgot. By the time the main battle ended, the rebel fleet was destroyed. Alara ordered the survivors taken alive. She stood on the bridge, looking down at the wounded planet below. This war must end, she said quietly. Ethan stood beside her, still pale but steady. If you want peace, you'll have to fight for it harder than you fought this war. She nodded. Then we fight together. Word of the battle spread across the Empire. Stories of the princess and the human who shared blood traveled faster than ships. Some called it heresy. Others called it destiny. For the first time in centuries, humans and Thyrol began to speak instead of shoot. When the Peace Council finally convened, Ethan and Alara entered side by side. Cameras and drones filled the hall. Millions watched across both worlds. Alara raised her hand. The war between our people has ended countless lives. Today it ends. She looked at Ethan. Because one human chose compassion over hate. The crowd was silent. Then one Thyrol officer stepped forward, removing his weapon and placing it on the floor. Another followed. One by one, more soldiers did the same. Ethan felt a lump in his throat. For all his battles, he had never seen something so powerful as that quiet surrender. When the ceremony ended, Alara turned to him. They call it the Blood Accord, she said. But I call it something simpler, trust. He smiled. That's a good start. Days passed. The stars outside seemed brighter. Ethan prepared to return to the human fleet, though part of him didn't want to leave. He stood at the docking bay, looking back at her. You're really going back? She asked softly. I have to, he said. Someone has to tell our side what happened here. If they hear it from me, maybe they'll believe it. She stepped closer. And if they don't, he smiled, then I'll come back and prove it.